Okay, let's call this meeting to order of the Bond Referendum Public Safety Subcommittee. And we're here at the Laredo Police Department headquarters, second floor. Roll call. Chief, you want to do roll call?
Yes, sir. Monica Garcia.
Present.
Eduardo Garza, already mentioned he's on his way. Lucy Morris.
Present.
Albert Chapa.
Present.
Belinda Guerra.
Present.
And the mayor's appointee, which is new to the committee, Rick Laurel, is on his way as well. And the chairman, Jesus Olivares.
Present.
Chairman, you have a quorum?
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody got public comment. Anybody here have anybody present for any public comments?
Any member? None heard?
Anybody? We don't have anybody. Okay, let me move on to the next item, which is discussion with possible action on the proposed police department bond package. Chief.
Mr. Chairman, man, I'm going to be using a presentation here. The way that I would like to do this is, just stop me at any time. We're going to be back and forth on several items. I mean, I know it's a big package that we're dealing with, but more than anything, is the justification for what we're asking, pretty much. I know that Ms. Garcia had a couple of questions on the impact on general fund and stuff like that. We are going to have those numbers for you. And also, there was a question, I believe, it was from Sierra or Edward, that what are we going to do with this building when we vacate it, right? And so one of the things that we've been talking about is the amount of rent that we pay for this building is not the market rate. Just because the airport is it pretty much belongs to the city, and then so the market rate for this kind of offices is about $2 per square foot, and we don't pay that. We pay a lot less. So when we're talking about having another person, another entity coming in and taking over, there is plenty. I talked to the CBP. I also spoken to the U.S. Marshal Service, who right now they're at the Walker's Plaza. There is a need for some of those agencies to move somewhere else. So the need is there. It's just that there's no space right now, so they're staying where they're at. So we're gonna go a little bit over that as well. The major thing is the infrastructure for the police department. And I'm gonna show you some pictures, and I'm gonna invite you to go see the equipment that we currently have, go see the status of the buildings that we currently have, and that way you yourself can see for what we're dealing with. I know you see this room is really, really nice. We just finished remodeling it. The reason we pushed for this remodel, we had some salary savings, and we pushed for this remodel because of the respect that we do for our fallen officer, Victor Serna. So we still haven't done our kind of like another ribbon cutting for this room, because the family is still in talks with them. They're probably gonna be here in November to come in and do the dedicate the room for Victor Serna. So we felt the need that we needed to do it. So this is why this room is really, really nice. We also did some improvements to this building, also with salary savings, to our detective division, which we're gonna show you, and the real-time crime center, which is the watch commander. So we're also gonna show you that. To get started, so here we are, the strategic goals, right? So, of course, the mission of the police department is to enhance the quality of life in Laredo by establishing a partnership with the community in an effort to preserve life, protect property, and enforce the law. The vision of the Laredo Police Department is to provide the best public safety and service in partnership within our community. You're gonna see a lot of community partnerships, because we've always said it that we can't do everything alone. We need the community to make sure that in any crime that we solve in this community, I can tell you that 60%, 70%, it's always a community that comes and helps us, whether it's be on the lookout, have you seen this person, or TIPS. So we always need the community. Strategic goals for this is going to be to enhance public safety, organizational enhancement, infrastructure development, innovative equipment and technology, and community engagement. So this is a strategic plan for, when we're talking about timeline, what we're gonna be asking for, we're gonna be doing in phases. Phase 1 is to secure property and start the design of headquarters and training facility. Phase is also gonna be purchase technology to meet mandated CJIS compliance requirements. Now, what's CJIS, right? That's criminal justice data that we do, that we transfer day in and day out from different systems. From the patrol car to PD, so also when we get data from the state to PD to the patrol car, all that stuff has to be secured. It has to be, it's a mandate from the state that we are in a security environment when it comes to our softwares, when it comes to our technology. There's technology that sometimes police departments are using, and we've been there before when they've done an audit, and they come in and they say, you need to delete that unit, you need to delete that computer, you need to delete that other unit, because it's a mandate and we're already in violation of CJIS compliance. And that's a big one, because if we continue failing in those mandates, they will unplug our, what we call the 2400-100. That is the data that we get from the state to run people that are wanted, people that are missing, runaways, and things like that. Vehicles, they unplug that because we're not CJIS compliant. In the same phase, we're gonna start building communication infrastructure. One of the things that we're gonna show you is our 911 center, where everything comes in from the public and we're dispatching. We still have the 911 center that we started with back in 1996. And pretty much it looks the same as in 1990. We've grown so much, the city has grown so much from since then, and we're still operating with the same consoles and the same layout. So instead of us growing that, because that is where everything starts, and we've always said it, if we get the call wrong, everything else, we get it wrong. We have to start right to get everything else right. And that's not only for PD, but also for fire. We handle every call that is being dispatched for fire. And that is crucial, because if somebody's calling in and it's a drop 911 or it's a drop 2800, and it's a last moment where they need an EMT, where they need the fire department, where they need PD, we can't get them through. Why? Because that line was dropped, or because we don't have enough personnel to immediately call back and see who's the one that called 911 or 2800. So we get into those gaps, into those hiccups. We'll explain it more in depth in a bit, but this is what we're talking about when we're talking about building our communication infrastructure. Of course, purchase police units to replace units reaching end of life cycle. This one is one that I've been having conversations with our budget director. And the reason we've been having these conversations is because if for whatever reason this bond does not go through, we're gonna have to wait 3 years to purchase vehicles. And for us, we can't do that. If it fails and we're gonna have to wait 3 years, it'll be a complete failure of our systems here at PD, because just next year, and as I was conveying this to our budget director and our management, that next year we're gonna need about 75 units, because already we're gonna be out of compliance with 54, and we already deleted over 30 units from this year. And the reason we're doing that is because from the computer to our body cam systems to our index systems, those are end of life. They only last 5 years. So every year, we're now making sure that when we buy a car in 2025, that we're gonna have to end that car's life in 2030. And how we're doing that? We're sharing units to make sure that we're more responsible with our budget. We're sharing units versus assigning a unit to each officer, which that's what we were doing before. So we've done away with that, because we still had units that were 6 years old. And in those when they were 6 years old, they still had 67,000 miles. We couldn't delete it. So we had to put new equipment that was costing us $30,000 to put, and it was only lasting another 2 years because the unit was going to be end of life. Do you have a question, Mr. Chairman?
No, I just.
Phase 2.
Hold on, Chief.
Before you go into the second phase, how many times do you get how many times do you actually get audited by CJIS, and how many times have you not met the compliances requirements? That's one question.
So the times that we have, the last time we were not CJIS compliant was in 2022. And that is when we found out that our servers were out of compliance. We had servers that had been with us since 2008. And so they gave us an ultimatum to change those servers. Remember, the servers are very expensive. So what what we did when that happened is that we told them that our servers were no longer gonna be needed because we went into a cloud-based system. So they gave us ample time to fix the issues, and we did. We ended up passing after they came back. But right now, we're under a CJIS audit.
Dr. Sedgwick, what is your timeline between phase 1 and phase 2?
This is just, phase 1 is gonna be the very first year when we get that funding. This is what we're gonna start doing. Phase 2, and this is where we wanna get into the nitty-gritty, right? The warehouse support sector. This is of utmost important because the problems that we're having in Mines Road are huge, and they're only gonna get bigger. And right now, when we have tractor trailers going all the way on Route 20, all the way to Del Mar and the university, it is it's a danger to the public, and it's a public threat.
How many
So,
units do you have, and what's the lifespan?
Right now, we have approximately how many units, Chief?
About 280.
280 units.
How many officers do you have?
We have 513.
513 officers, and you have 280 units.
About 210, I'm sorry.
And how many units are already close to the lifespan that they're already supposed to meet in right
68.
now? 68 right now.
Yeah. Do you sell the old vehicles? How do you go about?
They do auction them, the city auctions them out. That goes back to general fund, whatever. And usually is very little because they know their police cars, they've been through a lot. So they usually pay about $2,000, $3,000.
And how many acres are you thinking? Are you gonna put phase 2 with the first one, the headquarters and training?
Yes.
So how many acres?
So phase 2, the sector stations requires about minimum 3 acres. Because that's a 14,000 square foot footprint. And the reason we're doing sector stations is to make sure that we're providing the services over there in the Mines Road area. We're doing one in South Laredo right now. And that's what we're gonna mirror in every other sector of the city.
So including the headquarters and training, does that go with the warehouse, and how many?
Yes. So this one, warehouse port we're gonna start already. Once we get the bond money,
And that's a total of 3 acres, or is that?
this is 3 acres.
And that-
The training facility is gonna be upwards of 20 to 25 acres. And then the headquarters is gonna require about 10 acres.
So another question that I have, going back to the units that you currently have, you have 210 units, but then again, you have 513 officers, so right now you have approximately 2.5 officers per unit, so what are you doing with the 0.5?
We're rotating. Remember, we have 3 shifts.
Okay,
So we're rotating those cars day in and day out.
yeah, but I mean, even if you rotate per day in a 24-hour cycle, you're gonna have, per se, two officers per cycle by the time they shift change or whatever. So where's the other officer?
Well, remember, we're talking about patrol cars, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the auxiliary.
Okay,
you have
so
the
how many
auxiliary.
patrol officers do you have in total versus you have different divisions,
Mhm.
right? So how many patrolmen do you have in total that you're actually utilizing the 210 vehicles?
So we have approximately 330 patrol officers.
Okay,
And we have about 210 vehicles dedicated to them. Now, those are rotated. Remember, we have shifts overlap, so we have to have enough to accommodate to complete shifts. So account for vehicles being down, service and so forth. So that's the pool that accommodates those officers.
okay.
And yes, the number that Chief provided, yeah, there's a lot of them that are already reached that.
So yearly within your budget cycle, during your budget cycle yearly, what are you talking about the replacement? Is there a CIB plan for a replacement for vehicles already in place, or there's nothing in place now?
Yeah.
So you want me to answer that, Chief?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so every year during our bond sales for the general obligation bonds, which are the bonds related to accounts that are on the general fund,
Right.
which is public works, engineering, police, fire, Parks and Recreation, all of those are departments that are fed by the general fund. We sell bonds for those, and so that's where we buy. We've been trying to buy 50 patrol cars a year for PD, and the fire equipment as well for the firefighters. And the fire equipment's obviously more expensive than a patrol car. But we get those from general obligation bonds, and we do those annually. And it goes for all of our general fund departments.
You try to put your units out of service at what mileage? About
100,000, right?
100, we've given some
That's about it.
120,000.
Yeah, after that, they'll be breaking down.
Yeah, and right now, the worst, I guess, the way we can see it,
Technology.
to our fleet is not only the vehicle itself, but the technology, right?
Technology, yeah.
And then also, when we're talking about chargers, those have been a big mess. You know, if for some reason, they just keep
So on a
breaking down.
fully equipped vehicle, what's the price on a fully equipped vehicle with all the technology and
About
requirements? that you-
90,000 right now.
$90,000 per vehicle.
Did that go up significantly this year?
Significant, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we remember when we used to do vehicles with about $70,000. It went
So in the
up.
first phase one, what is the approximate amount of money that we're talking about just to probably secure phase one?
So let me, I'll
Yeah.
continue and then we'll come back to the numbers. So the phase 3 would be to secure and start the north sector station, and that would be at the last phase. Go to the next one. So this is what we're talking about when it comes to money. Our LPD headquarters, of course, is gonna be about 120,000 square feet. You're talking about the training facility, you're talking about a 7,000 square foot building with a 25-acre tract. And then we have the sector stations, would cost about $12.1 million. We have the warehouse stations, $10.8 million. And then our specialized equipment, I'll go into it right now. That's more the SWAT vehicles, the tactical readiness for PD, it'll come in there. And then, of course, you got our fleet, your marked, unmarked motorcycles, critical incident, communications events and all that, that comes about at $36 million. And then, of course, we have radios. This is our main critical one right now, the infrastructure for this. It's at 5.8. And then, of course, our body worn camera. You look at that number, and you know it gives you, this is just for 10 years. This is 5 years, and then another 5 years at the end of the bond to pay for body cam systems. And that's already a requirement for us to have a body cam when we're doing traffic stops. And that's under the racial profiling law that was issued by the state. Then you got the IT maintenance, your redundancy towers. This one I put 657. I did talk to Chief Hurt. He's gonna put another 657 because this is about $1.2 million. This tower, and that's just to have, if one tower goes down, we have another tower to tap into in case of an emergency. So he's gonna add the other half on his presentation. These are the numbers. I know it's big numbers, and we're gonna have to dissect it, but I just wanted to be upfront as to what we're looking at. And it's a lot of money. Technology is very expensive. And of course,
It doesn't last long either.
and we.
Doesn't
So as
last
far as
long
the
either.
technology,
Yes.
as far as the technology, Chief, have we, I mean, I'm pretty sure that you guys have explored the opportunities of grants and all this other stuff that's out there to be able to give you, I mean,
The
to-
problem,
what challenges are we facing that we're not receiving this type of money through the grant system or something? I mean, it's just a question because I know there's a lot of money out there, but I mean, are we really exploring our options to look at the technology?
So let me give you a little bit about grants. So grants have been very generous with us.
Mhm.
Grants, you know, got the COPS program. You know, we just got awarded 25 COPS, right?
Mhm.
We have the state coming in with the MBCPA funding that funds about 8 personnel from the auto theft task force, which is a big problem in Laredo, auto
Mhm.
theft. And that also funds about $6 million in technology. That's a lot of money from the state to get.
Right.
You know, the other thing is the Lone Star and Operation Stone Garden.
Mhm.
We got about 1.4 in one and about another $1 million from Lone Star. And then you got, as well as the other technology that we use is, and we're talking about communications and stuff like that. Those, Regional 911 helps us, but it's just for the answering part of it. Consoles, dispatch, that's all on PD, that's all on the city. We've gone out for grants for body cams, we get very little for body cams. There's not a lot of money for body cams out there.
Even when the new law was enacted, there wasn't another fund.
They concentrate more on smaller agencies. We are considered a major city agency. It's very hard for us to go out there and ask for millions of dollars for body cam. They put that on the city, that the city should be taking that for themselves. So,
You know, Chief, you might want to let the committee know where you currently train your cadets.
yeah, so let's go down. Yeah, go down.
This is a grant one.
All this are the grants that we apply for. And if you see, this is how much of grants money we get,
Nothing.
and you gotta understand also that we have to, some of these grants, we require 20% from the city. But even like
So
this,
how much is the city matching? 3 point, what?
3.3.
3.3.
In total, we get 15 million of grants. I mean, if you look at this number compared to other cities, this is a huge number of money. This is a lot of money that we get in grants. But the problem is that we cannot continue relying on grants for our body cam systems or for our intelligence systems. Those are crucial, and I'll let you know once we go into executive session why we cannot be relying just on grants, because a grant next year can tell you we're not gonna fund you.
Right.
That's the problem.
Chief, is that yearly, is that a yearly number that you all acquire on a yearly
Yes.
basis? Good.
And what type of budget do you guys currently have for the Laredo Police Department?
100 and,
We're about 111 million, including the grant funding.
is that right? Yeah, that's including the grants.
That's operating and everything.
Yes. You wanna go down to it?
To the cadet one, or?
So, yeah, let's get into this one before we get into the picture. So, let's go to the other ones. This is the cost for service only for PD. We're not counting fire. This is year to date. Only for PD.
Unbelievable.
It's a lot of cost for service. If you gotta look at the, we're gonna go into priority ones, but if you look at 911 calls, this is the inbound, this is how much we're getting, this is how many we've abandoned. What I'm talking about, when they answer, somebody hangs up, and then we're trying to call back, we only try twice, because then we have to go to the other one, right? So this is a concern, and that's why we need to expand our communication services. The other one is administrative calls, right? 146,000, abandoned 8,000. Those, it really doesn't matter because it's either for a report or things like that. If they want to call back, great, but if not, we're okay with it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the service part in a bit. So I just want to show you some numbers before we proceed. Go ahead.
Those are the priority ones.
These are priority one calls. These are the crimes in progress, the aggravated robberies, the assaults in progress, shots fired. These are the ones that are priority ones. And if you look at the number, it's quite substantial. You know, you got 38,515 in one sector, which is the north. Then on central sector, you got 56,000, and then in the south sector, you got 49,000 calls, priority ones, year to date. So that's why when we go into cases like Ms. Garcia, when she calls for a stolen vehicle, they let her know, ma'am, right now we don't have units available, because they're attending to calls like this. And we'll show you some other circumstances where they put no unit available, right? Unless it's something where somebody's being, you know, followed and things like that, they will get a unit from another district and they'll send it.
These are divided into actual reports, like the 48s, the burglary.
Yeah, we can.
These are the FIS calls and the.
Yeah, so I wanted to show you this real quick. These are the domestic disturbance calls, year to date. This is how many calls we've gotten. This is the calls that requires 2 units to be dispatched. These are the amount of calls that we've delayed because we don't have 2 units available. That's a lot of calls for domestic violence. So 649, you say, well, 649 possible lives in danger. And so I just wanted to make that, show you that, because this is what we're getting into. And every year, so last year we were at 576 calls that we were delaying. Now we're at 649. And it just goes back to the growth of the city, that the more we grow, the more residential area, the more calls we're gonna get, and the more calls we're gonna put on delay because we don't have 2 units available to send to those calls.
So Chief, based on that, what you just said, with our growth, how many police officers are we currently short?
So we're at 575. We're supposed to be 25 and 30, we're 45 officers short,
Even with the new grant money that?
even with the new grant money. We're supposed to be at 650.
And then with those officers, you need more vehicles, obviously.
More vehicles, infrastructure.
Everything.
You said 45 short?
45 short.
Yeah, definitely.
So really, in the essence, when it comes to manpower, this is priority number one.
Priority number one, yeah. But remember, so what I've always conveyed to everybody that asks about manpower is, I'm gonna show you right now where we were as far as the organization and what needs to happen within the organization to sustain the growth, right? First is the organization, then is the infrastructure, vehicles, buildings, everything, computers, everything that we need to operate. We first need to have all that already ready to go before we start putting in more officers.
Yeah, because everything's relative to each other.
Exactly. So it just has a nexus to everything. And then, so I'll explain a little bit more as to where we're going with that, but I just wanted you to see this because it's important that you understand that 649 delayed calls are a lot of calls year to date. This is our use of force chart. We've been really good on officer involved shooting. And this is because I gotta give it to the training division. The de-escalating and making sure that we also monitor the amount of officers that we send to a call versus, like, for example, an assault in progress, right? Rowdy background. Before, an officer would go by himself and another one would go whenever, he was dispatched. Now it's a mandatory thing that we need to send several officers to make sure that we engage him with a little bit of use of force from the personnel. So we've gotten a lot better. Also the de-escalating, talking to the individuals. The training has been very important. And you see the numbers? Yes, this year during the bank robbery, we were involved in an officer involved shooting. Gracias a Dios, we didn't hurt anybody, but it could have gotten very bad. So just wanted to show you where we're at. But still, all this training, I'll show you right now where we're training, but just wanted to show you the use of force chart that we started tracking. If you see this chart, we're doing an excellent job in trying to make sure that we de-escalate the situation every time we encounter somebody. And of course, you see the personal weapon. These are just officers themselves using their own tactics to cover whatever they're facing. Yeah, so this is about the organizational enhancement. Very important that we understand where we're going with this. Recruit, hire, retain. This is getting very hard year by year. That's weak. I heard DPS is gonna be getting lateral transfers and paying them, at the rank that they're getting paid because they're having a hard time getting troopers and within their ranks, personnel.
What's the percentage of loss that you'll be losing to other agencies?
This year, I know that we've talked about it, we were talking about a good percentage, which is we're between 15% of our personnel because they're gonna be getting paid more. I mean, right now, FAR, they're getting, starting pay is more than Laredo, and FAR is a little town like this. So it's things that, we leave up to the union to negotiate that part, but I'm saying that for us, as far as police department, it's becoming harder and harder with this new generation to hire police officers.
How about with the new fit bill? Are we gonna lose officers because of that?
Some officers are already talking about retiring, I'll tell you that much.
And do you guys have like a particular number of how many people you're looking?
We just count as it is, who might be, right? Because we cannot be very upfront about it.
They're not announcing it yet.
Yeah, we can ask those things,
Yeah.
but we're talking about 12 officers.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're seeing all these things, snowballing on us, but the good thing is that we already have people that are already in the pipeline to be sent to the academy, so we'll
Those that you lose to other agencies is already included in those 45 officers that you're short? No, right?
No. We have the hardcore number right now, and then whatever it is that we're missing, that's what I.
Plus, so that's a fluctuating number.
That's a fluctuating number.
What's the overturn time, when you do the hiring process all the
1
way
year.
through
1 year, 11 months.
in training?
Yes. And that's because we kind of sped it up during the in-service. We used to be at 14 weeks, now we're at 11 weeks. So going to personnel development, promote mental and physical wellness, very, very important, this part, and then the accreditation program. So in 2026, just to give you some visibility, by 2026, we're gonna have to be accredited to receive any type of grant. If we're not an accredited agency, we're not gonna be receiving grants from the feds. And that's, so we're moving as fast as we can to get accredited.
Is this in the first phase still, or did you?
Yes, the accreditation is gonna be in the first phase, so that comes with the building. So right now, I'm gonna show you some pictures of our property room, which is out of compliance, and we'll tell you the reason. Go to the next slide. So, just what I wanna talk about this, right? So, the public is gonna ask, I mean, why are you asking for this money, right? What are we gonna be gaining? One of the things that we've been making a lot of changes within the organization and to be able to capture and to be able to, the vision of this department has, is to give this part, the exceptional service. The main complaints from the public is not when we respond and we arrest and we do all the nice things that come out in the news. You know, you guys cut your guy that did the homicide. That's not the complaint. The complaint is, Chief, you're taking 2 hours to get to my accident. Chief, I wanted to report a theft and the officer never came by, so I changed, I called again, and my time started again. It's like if I hang up for a credit card thing. Those are the complaints, and it comes back to service. The other complaint that we get all the time is the fact that for a white-collar crime, that is a priority, very low priority. So by the time we send the officer, it's about maybe, you can call it at 8 o'clock in the morning, the officer's not gonna get there probably till 10:30, because we're still handling other calls that come in first before that white-collar crime call. So service is of utmost importance to us right now, because this is why the public complains the most about people. The other one, when somebody's involved in an accident, they come here the next day, where's my accident? We don't have it. Okay, they leave, they come back, where's my accident? The officer went out on leave, on days off, so we're gonna have to wait 2 more days. So we changed that, but at the same time, our systems itself, the process to check reports and all that has to go through a system to make sure that we got the report right. And so lack of personnel is the reason why we can't give this. If we have more personnel, we will be able to check that report a lot faster, create the system that we want to make sure that the victim, whenever there's an accident, the next day they can come in and pick up the report. We're just testing right now, we're beta testing our online services, which you're gonna be able to get that report through online, and you don't have to come all the way over here. But at the same time, once we put that switch on, we're still gonna have that method of checking those reports that is not gonna get that report maybe 3 or 4 days after they're involved in that accident. So we have to be very clear that we have to change the system, we have to have personnel, and have the software, the technology that we need, that we're asking to provide that exceptional service.
Chief, so regarding a report, does the officer have access to the adequate technology, let's say a tablet or a computer in which the officer can fill that in, basically following a form in which that can process faster? Do our officers have that already?
Yes, so we have our MCTs, what we call the mobile computer terminals, in the cars. The problem with that is because the directive that we're giving is if you have an additional call, don't put the call on pause. You have to make sure you answer the call. Wait on the report, right? So you start a report, put it on pause, you go to the other call. And the way we are right now is put it on pause, go to the other call. Put it on pause, go to the other call. So you start our reports, and you just, by the time you finish, you're gonna finish the reports that are gonna be prioritized. Aggravated sexual assaults, family violence. You have to finish those reports, you submit it, you leave pending the accident, because those are not priorities. So it goes back to that.
Okay.
So that system is what we need to change. So how are we gonna change it? Personnel, right? The other thing is also that, and I'll go into in-depth with this, right, but now we're changing the dynamics of finishing the reports. We just heard what happened in Dallas. There was an officer doing the report on his computer, and what happened? Somebody went up and shot him, killed him. So we're telling our officers, you can't do that, right? You have to come back somewhere safe. So some of them come here, they go to the church, which a bunch of people complain that we always have officers by the church and they're not doing anything. Well, they don't know that they're finishing up their reports. But at the same time, that's where they're at, finishing the reports. So in our vision is to have a computer lab, so when they come back to the station, they come here and they finish it here safely. That's gonna be the ask. But we'll go in depth about that in a bit. I just wanted to show you a little bit as to what we're asking for, why we're asking this, and it's pretty much to provide this to the public. So we'll go with the hiring process. It's 11 months, date of test, and then the academy is 19 weeks, and it's in service, FTO phase. And I want to talk a little bit about the academy, right? So we take him to Laredo Community College, the regional academy. It's a great academy. I won't take anything away from it. The problem is that once they're in sessions, and they go in sessions like the college does. So we have one group and we send 20, and then we were able to do another background for another 12. We cannot send them to the academy until the next session, which is gonna be in August. So we have to wait until we can send them again. We're a large enough department to have our own academy and run our own academy, because the majority of the instructors are from this department.
So would you continue to use community college as well, or you would just completely sever that tie?
For the academy, we would use just our own. In the future, right? I'm not saying.
Right.
But in the future, we want to make sure that we have our own academy. And then for in-service, and we would send some to the colleges, because there's some, I want to say there are some topics that is more in their realm than PD. For example, I know the city does a very good job in sexual harassment, but when it comes to certain things with culture diversity and things like that, the college has a very good program for that. We can continue using them for that. But for us, having our own academy, it will pay dividends, because it's just a lot easier to manage.
Chief, are you all satisfied with the service you're receiving from Laredo College of this academy?
Oh, yes.
So would it be, is it even feasible for us to consider a joint venture between Laredo College and the city to develop an expansion of buildings, let's say at Laredo College itself, where we can continue that relationship, or is that not something that you foresee for the future of this department?
Well, I think the future that we're envisioning is to have just the police department run its own academy, to steer away from the red tape that some of this that we believe that it's going to give us. So, for example, when we want to do, let me just give you an example. We want to do the shooting part, right? The shooting part right now, we do it in I'll show you where we're doing them. When we do that, we're gonna have to have an instructor from the academy there, followed by one of our officers, and making sure that they do according to their, the lesson plan. And we have to follow their lesson plan, because he has to abide by the accreditation of their college. And it's great and all that. We're not saying we have a problem with that. It's just that for us, we have to continue doing more firearms training, not only every year. Right now we have it every year to accommodate everybody with that, right? For us, we want to push it what we're doing every 6 months. Target practicing, firearms training, every 6 months we need to do that, because we have to be very proficient with our weapons. So waiting for that, we believe that it's just gonna hinder our operations and the vision that we have for the police department, which is having our own training facility.
So the way you're explaining it to me, I envision a police campus, if you will, for lack of a better word, that encompasses all these activities for the police department.
Yes.
Is that the vision that you see for the city?
That's the vision, and the bigger vision, right, is to make sure that we bring in other departments to come and train. So one of the things that we've seen in other cities, like for example, I'll give you an example, Plano. Plano built a facility where other agencies go, they spend money on hotels, they spend money on the restaurants, because they have a one week training. So when you have classes that are upwards of about 100 individuals coming in training to your facility
Yeah.
almost every week, it creates revenue for the city, but it's also for us, it's a lot better than sending them out to other areas where it's costing us money. The other thing is also that the vision of the police department and that we talked at command is that we have a bunch of agencies here in the city that are law enforcement, and we all need to be in the same page. You know, and the problem with that is you saw it with Alexander. The situation that we had at Alexander, it was a big chaos because of the fact that we're not on the same page. Everybody trains differently. As much as we want to say we train alert the same way, I've talked to other chiefs and they don't train the same way. They have different tactics. So one of the things that we want to do is we have a one center. This is where we're all trained and open up the hub for everybody. And of course, it comes with some revenue for the city as well.
Chief, on the list of projects, you mentioned a $25 million training facility.
Yes.
Where do the officers get trained right now?
That's right. That's what we do.
Oh, yes. Oh, let me get your pictures. Wait. That's the computer room.
There's a computer training room
Is it here,
and the
on the other room?
Yeah.
So, okay,
This is where we're training right now.
across the street?
That's San Martin?
This is where we do all our tactical trainings and the throwdown. This is what we're doing. And the pastor has been really, really nice with us. And he opens up the building at all hours whenever we need it. And so we're very grateful for that. But this is for your police department, a 500+ agency. This is what we're training.
Now, this training facility would be utilized for other training purposes also?
Yes.
SWAT, everything?
Yeah, so you want to go to the picture of Slade?
Because currently, you're training everybody there at San Martin, basically, right?
Yes. Everybody's training there. So this is the reason why we're talking about this. Do we have any bigger? The amount of officers that we have, it's costing us a lot to bring him into training because we have to split him up. So imagine we bring in 1 week, if it's a 1 week training, you bring in 20 officers. Imagine to get to the 500 officers that we have, because we don't not only train patrolmen, we have to train detectives, we have to train everybody.
For how many years have you been utilizing that training facility in San Martin de Porras?
This is our
Oh, and
second
the
year.
gym.
This is our second year.
2 years.
2 years.
And before that?
Before that, we were all over the place. We were using the LC, we were using, which is the other one?
16 buildings.
Building 60, we'll show you that building right now. But it's been all over, like we've been
Because
spreading out.
you guys don't have a training facility, but the fire department does, right?
Yes.
Our does.
I
So
will-
this is what we're looking at.
If I may.
Chief.
So the fire training facility was initially constructed for both entities because the police department used some other drug forfeiture money and stuff to share with the city towards the very end. Fire does work with PD for the driving part because we put a driving course out there. At least the platform was there, the whole cement slab for them to do some police pursuit work, training in their vehicles. And they have come in to the classrooms from time to time, but it's not very frequent. And of course, their SWAT does use the tower to do SWAT and tactical operations out there, breaching and stuff like that.
How many acres do we have over there?
We have 277 acres.
How much is utilized?
77 is utilized. So there's 200 still there untouched.
The problem is Mines Road, though.
Yeah,
How do we
it's,
sell that to developer and use all the cash to do something else somewhere else?
it's hard to get there and to come
Yeah,
back.
it's a
Yeah,
distance.
it is far away. 'Cause
Yeah.
And
we
congested.
admit
You're
we
cutting
use it.
training by 2 hours, going
Yeah,
1 hour and then
exactly.
coming back.
Even right now, right, I mean, I'll give you an example,
That's
right?
basically it.
Sniper
Right.
training. The guys, when they get here,
That's it.
hour and 45 minutes just to get
Yeah.
over there. You know, and it's just, it's not operationally efficient. This is what we're envisioning for our training facility.
Where's that at?
This is actually in Cuatro Vientos. And it's further down closer to Mangana. And we just picked a piece of land and we designed what we wanted,
No.
what we needed, right? And so we're looking at a 10,000 square foot, I'm sorry, where is it? 35,000 square foot training facility. We have an indoor shooting range. We have a Hogan's Alley, which is your tactical readiness part. And then we have an outdoor shooting range. And then of course we have our driving course. So overall, you're talking about a 33-acre tract, but when we went back to dissect it, we only need between 20 and 25. So this is what we're envisioning for our training.
And have we explored any city property that we currently have already? Because I know in South Laredo along 83, there's a lot of city property. I mean, of course, it is close to the river. But, I mean, I know that they do have a lot of property that way that is already the land of the city.
Yeah,
I mean, have you guys already looked at that?
We haven't looked at it, but we do have a lot of acreage along the river. We bought the River Vega area for park development and stuff like that.
I mean, instead of purchasing land in another place, I mean, if we can probably mark down the price on the facility in itself if the property is already owned by the city.
Do we have
I mean,
any-
that is just maybe an option.
The problem with that is the floodplain,
Yeah.
and when the river rises, those are the.
But I mean, I
areas
don't think that that's the only, that's not the only property the city has. I think there's also property around 35 close to, I mean, the city owns a lot of property.
So there's 1,500 acres approximately,
35.
35 behind Unitech, that's been somewhat talked about for new airport in the future, things like that. I mean, I think that's a very remote, and you can have an outdoor shooting range.
Mr. Chair, if I could be
Yes, sir.
recognized. At this point, I think the information that I'm getting from you, Chief, is that we need a facility somewhere.
Yes.
I would like for us to not just be committed to the location that you're currently proposing, because we have many new highways and outer loops coming. And if we don't have the right site and the property that we do have as a city, we can trade with somebody else. And we can in other words, all I'm saying is we need to be open as to where we place this, perhaps along the outer loop or something to that effect, because we're gonna have a lot of officers at one given time at this facility. And we need to be able, as a community, to be able to send our officers at a minute's notice to all parts of the city. And so we need to be cognizant of the highway system that's coming, because of TxDOT's funding that they're already committed and what they're gonna commit. And so, you know, when it comes to land, I get it, land's expensive. But the city of Laredo is a very valuable partner when it comes to developing land. We have utilities, we have access, we have many things the city has to offer. And so when we look at land, we need to be aware of these things, especially these off-site costs that pertain to infrastructure, because that's gonna drive it up. All I wanna suggest at this point is that we focus on the facility needs.
Absolutely.
And not worry about the location yet. I think that discussion's for a later meeting.
Yeah, that's why I think it's.
And I think the city is gonna go through that process where they're gonna do the elimination process. This property is too expensive, this one's maybe not feasible. And they're gonna have to go through that for budget purposes also.
Right.
But I think that your requirement right now is you're looking at 20, 30, 40 acres possibly. You might wanna get yourself some property that you're gonna grow into, so that you're not gonna have to deal with this anymore in the next, 50 years, whatever. So I think that's where the administration comes in on your existing facilities and see how you can go, because you have all your utilities and everything there. So that's gonna be something that's gonna have to be discussed at your level.
And I have some more comments to make, if I may, Mr. Chair. Ms. Tina Martinez from our Community Development Department is here with us, and she's informed me that she has been meeting with Chief and his team to try to identify some sites and stuff related to, there's been some discussion. So there are some movement in this. Again, I want y'all to keep in mind that Mines Road is bad right now. There's no doubt. But there's also two major arteries getting pushed out of there by TxDOT, and also there's two connectors, and TxDOT is involved with them. And we just finished with the Hachar-Ruthinger settlement with all that. They're already doing relocation of lines and stuff, and that one's moving along. There's another one coming shortly after, and then there's also the Camino Colombia. So I anticipate that once all of that gets fully developed out, all those arteries, that we should be in a better position to where the 277 acres that we already have there, that was the initial vision of the 90s back then, and just to keep an open mind for the committee and and both chiefs that are in here, the fire chiefs and the officers that are behind us, everybody, that they got it that big, that much property for the future. That at one point we would get there, and it's growing out there. And once all these arteries are there, maybe it won't take an hour, Chief, you know, to get out there, because the arteries are there and the movement will be better. But for now, it's terrible. And our firefighters go out there every day. We have academies. And right now they have members in the academy, in the fire department. Their academies go out there every day, and all the training staff does too. They go out there, spend a day there, and come back in.
But also, it's gonna be important for us to at least get a price tag on the 200 acres that are not being utilized, because if it is an issue to get over there for the police department, eventually it's gonna be an issue also for the fire department. And we just have to honestly look at, you know, the big, huge problem that is in Mines Road, because the issue is not only for the police department to do the training, but it's also an issue for the fire department to do their training. And it's not a centralized location, because if we really look at personnel, we're talking about personnel on both ends. So at the end of the day, you got people training, so it needs to be more of a centralized location where both can dispatch for just in case something were to happen. And that is something that we need to look at, possibly for the future, but also probably put a price tag into that particular land in itself right now, and see if that purchase or that sale of that land can actually be utilized to look at the training facility for this facility and even possibly for fire.
When you say centralized, do you mean somewhere like in the middle of the city?
Not in the middle, per se, in the middle of the city,
Right,
but I
but
mean, I'm
somewhere-
talking about
Less congested.
less congested areas.
So for us, I think we talked about it with command, and for us, the ideal location would be somewhere in 59. That would be ideal for us. Right on 59. Either where it's gonna be closer to the outer loop or wherever they're gonna build that loop. It doesn't have to be closer to the city, but we have to at least have that clean corridor. Because right now, to get to Mines Road, and I'll share with you some of the statistics and the response times. Sometimes our officers are taking 11 minutes to hurry one calls. 11 minutes. It's a long time.
Just wanted the committee members to realize how this is a very important component to the police department. It's basically, you know, feeding the department. So having a good training facility will only make it better. And I realize that there's a lot of interruptions here, and training needs to be separate. So
Yes.
just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could add one more comment. US 59 is currently under design by TxDOT. They're going to widen it and relocate some of it into IH standards. So that means property owners are going to be approached to donate and sell right away. Now that their mindset's going to be in that form, this would be an opportunity to continue that discussion with those people, whoever they are, and see about acquiring land at this time. And this way, it coincides with what TxDOT's plans are, because that's already under design that just started.
Exactly.
So the timing is good for the optimum location, Chief. The timing is good.
Yeah. Thank you for
And
that.
Chief, I'm sure you'll be looking at all the transportation growth and all that, so, all right.
Yeah.
That 25 million is not including land cost, right?
This is not including land cost. This is just the facility itself. And we were able to get that number from our architect, who has designed and has built this type of facilities. So that's the number that we got, and that's what we're looking at. And again, it's nothing fancy. We're just asking for 7,000 square feet on 20 acres. That's what we're asking for. And it's just to be able to have that training facility. And then again, we do sometimes train in Mines Road, but again, that's fire. We've always known that it's fires. And even though we can go and ask him, hey, can we use it? There's sometimes that there's operations that we need to do that it requires us to do it somewhere else. So this is where we're talking about the police department training facility. Let's go to the other one.
The main one?
The main one. This is what we're looking for our police headquarters, and it's no coincidence, right? We did this before you came into the committee, Ms. Belinda Guerra. But this is a property that we use there by 59.
We're ready to
And it was
sell.
for sale. So we use that to kind of look at that because we wanted somewhere centralized for the police department. And so this is just a concept of what we want to do. But if you look at the facility, it's 153,000 square feet of facility. And then we have a 4-story garage for the unmarked and the marked units. And then of course we have the public parking. Here is where we're gonna have to do, and we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board because we need our property room set here. We didn't place it here, but our property room right now is about 10,000 give or take. And we have another warehouse that we'll show you. And again, I know that the public's hearing, but that is where we struggle because we have to continually be under compliance, and we struggle with that warehouse. So right now, this is where we need to be, and we need to put a warehouse there that's about 40,000 square feet to store all our property and evidence. Because every day, day in and day out, we're making seizures, we're seizing weapons. We need to make sure that we have a secure location. And this
Those
is-
93 million are part of the square footage of the today real number, right?
Real number. Yes.
Where's that located, Chief? I'm sorry?
This is on Casablanca Ballroom.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which is for sale right
I
now.
know
by
that
the way.
place.
Throwing it out there.
So,
Throwing it out there.
this happened a while back. We just picked a piece of land there
Yeah, yeah.
by Saunders. So this is what we're looking at. Again, we'll show you right now, just so everybody can have visibility, where we have our SWAT team, where we have our training guys, where we have our traffic officers, our detectives. They're all spread out. Like, we don't have a centralized location, and you're gonna see where we have them. I mean, it's really, it's to a point that is sad when you're gonna go see where they're at right now and where they work at from. So, we'll show you that, but this is the concept that we're looking at.
Deal.
The only thing I'll add to that, Chief, as we continue to review what we're looking at in terms of that building and that project, would be just to have the architect of record continually maintain their cost estimates every 3 months, because the market changes every 90 days. And so instead of us doing that work, you should have that person do the work and just keep you updated at least every 6 months, every 3 months on cost escalations, because in my line of work, I see that every 30 days. So I would recommend that as a function of the architect's work for you.
We're gonna work out a deal there for the lease purchase.
So here's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
67,000 square feet. This is our monthly lease payment, 23,000. And this is what I mean, that we're not paying market rate. And that's because pretty much the city and the airport has an agreement there. Same thing with the Sanchez building, we're paying 10,620.
That's down the road, right?
That's right next to us, yeah. Again, this was built in 1990. We outgrew it at the moment we moved in.
Yeah, I believe that.
We were already full blown out. And then we moved into this one. We're gonna show you where we're at. And we had, actually, I know that we brought in Ms. Rosario Cabello one day and we said, Ms. Cabello, you gotta come and see this. She came in and she said, we gotta move you. So we couldn't find anywhere else to move but the next door building. And with that building, we've invested so much money in trying to get those air conditions up, trying to get things going up. It's just a very old building. And this is where we're at. And just look at the personnel that we have reporting here. We have FIS, CID, records, 911 communications, and booking, 344 sworn. And here we have another 110 sworn, plus civilians. And you got all the units.
That
that
we
are-
negotiated with the airport.
Chief, you pay rent to who?
The airport.
Okay, so, okay. And the airport's owned by the city,
Well, yeah.
theoretically?
Theoretically.
Okay. Just making sure I know where the money's going.
Yeah,
You gotta
yes.
pay rent somewhere.
What's that?
You gotta pay rent somewhere.
Yes. And again, you know, we talked about when we're gonna do the annex, this is in 2018. We said anything between 18, it was 40,000 square feet next to this office. Anywhere between 18 and 20 million. And now look at the amount we're paying. So I just get nervous thinking like, we have to wait another year. How long is it gonna go up? If we have to wait another 2 years, how much more is never gonna happen, right? It's just gonna keep on going up. So, gonna go to the next slide.
Chief, have you done the math? How much loan, a $33,000 per month rent would finance a loan of that? Has anybody done that?
That's a good
I
picture.
haven't done that.
I'm just curious, you know, because if you build a new facility somewhere else, you're gonna borrow the money. You're gonna go theoretically to a bank and borrow it, but you're already paying $33,000 a month. So you already are good for that.
Yep.
You're good for it. And so how much money can you borrow with $33,000 a month already?
Well, I think even if we add the other rents.
Yeah,
we're
the
talking about
10,000.
over 40,000.
Yeah, that's,
44,000.
that's what, I added the 33, roughly, 34,000.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I mean, just to have that in the,
I can address that. Okay. So the building will stay vacant if they move out, right? And the airport has a drop in that revenue. And the airport's budget is balanced based on the rents, okay? And so ultimately, it'll throw the airport's budget out of whack. And so it's money that's circling within the $1 billion budget of the city.
Okay.
And so ultimately, it's not like just saying, oh, we have this 50,000 a month
Right.
now to go spend somewhere else. No, it's gonna cause a bleed
Right.
in another area. And so ultimately, unless somebody comes in here and rents the facility,
Which
which
he's-
could very well happen, right?
Yeah.
It's very potentially there, right? But ultimately, there's gonna be a period of time between the vacating of it and the new tenants and stuff like that. I just wanna put it out there so that you know that it's not just there to take and use somewhere else, that it's gonna cause another effect.
so the key would be to find another user to go move into these two
Which
facilities.
the chief has already talked to some people.
I don't know if everybody remembers how this all came about. Back then, we used to have everything here at the base. Fleet, everything, public works, everything. When the police station came up, they selected this property in a way to also help the airport
For the budget.
at the time. Because that's when everything was dilapidated here. And it felt like that would be a little bit of help for the airport. And I think what we should have done back then was a lease purchase of the property, instead of it going on forever, just like that. So that could have eliminated this by now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But at the time, it was, hey, let's help the airport.
Yeah.
But now it's become a fiscal issue.
Yeah,
So-
and it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because Chief just said, you know, yeah, we're paying rent to sustain the airport. But I really believe that if we can get another tenant here, and at the right rate, because this is the discounted rate. We're paying, you know, pennies for this facility. So,
How many other properties does the city own adjacent to this?
All of it is the city.
All of it?
The whole airport, and see, the thing is that we're bound to a fair, they call it a fair market value for the airport, for them to have their revenues from that property. So anything we sell off, for example, fire's been, since I was chief back then, they wanted to throw us out of the airport. And they, because we have a fire station almost across the street, just a little bit, two blocks to the north. And they were like, we need to get you out. We need to get you out because we want to rent it. We want the space for a better value, like the chief is talking about.
A better tenant?
A better tenant, right? Because we take when they could get, right? When the city could get, but we take. Public safety takes because it costs money for public safety. So they still want to kick out the fire department. So you'll see next week the fire chief will have a slide of, I'm getting kicked out, you know, and I need to move. And the difference is that they're on the flight line, the fire department. And so that's prime for all the cargo stuff that goes on there. We're a block away here at PD. So the airport director's not in any hurry to kick out this tenant, but he's in a hurry to kick them out, the firemen.
Well, they could come here.
That's a big building for one fire station. But anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, chief.
So again, thank you. So going back to the CJ's.
This is the current location across the street.
It's across the street. This, there's some, you're gonna say, well, why didn't you fix it, right? Pretty simple.
But you're not using it.
We fixed it, it rains, it falls again. We fix it, it
That's a
rains,
good picture.
it falls again. My
But
thing
you're not
is,
using
we've
it.
already fixed the roof right now. The problem with this is that when we start putting that ceiling tiles now, it gets too hot in here. So we have to make sure that we leave it
Yeah.
open, so that it can circulate, and it doesn't get overheated, right?
But you're not using it, or yes?
Yeah.
We're using it.
Yes, this one is.
Yes.
Okay.
So then
That's
this,
for their house, right?
all this is our network, right? Our network connections. This is out of CJ's compliance.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what I mean when we take you over there. Go to the next one. Again, more. This is the floor. And of course, we got our beautiful palapa that I use. We have,
Natural sunroof, huh?
yeah. Go to the briefings. So this room, right, I just told you we just finished remodeling it. This is our briefings right here. Look at the amount of officers that are standing up.
Yeah.
We don't fit. What are the other one? Like everybody's standing up and making sure, again, it's a briefing room that we no longer can be able to utilize because it's just too small. What are the other one? The other ones from the annex?
Okay.
So the one from the annex,
Like 4 million.
in the south sector, we ended up showing that to council because it was a big problem. Over there was a room half this size that was assigned to
These
PD.
are on the buildings.
And we were putting 114 officers there.
Yeah.
So every time that we would do briefings, there were sergeants that were going outside to do briefings. And then when it was something confidential that they needed to, law enforcement sensitive, they would get a little group, put him back in, give him the information, get the other group, back in, give him the information. Again, it's not a way to operate. This is a police department that is first class.
Yeah.
We should not be operating like that. So we move forward on creating our South Sector station. The plans are already on the way to design. We ended up buying 5 acres next to the new Buena Vista complex. And we just moved the money that was being allocated for the annex here, which we were never gonna get done because it was like 2 million, 4 million. We had about $7 million to spend for that. So we moved that money to the south. Go to the next slide.
Is that considered a substation?
That's considered a-
Technically, is that what it's called?
Yeah, but what we did, and going back to the community engagement and making sure exceptional service, What we're gonna do, we're gonna put in a records division over there, so that the people that live in the south, they don't have to come all the way over here to pick up a report.
Oh, that's good.
Or to make a report, or to talk to a detective, or to talk to an officer. They can go there, they can walk in, I wanna talk to an officer, they'll be able to be there. Now, the other big plus is that we're gonna be able to put a captain there. So now there'll be a whole chain of command there, always housing that sector station. Right now, the way we work is we have sergeants only reporting to that station in the annex. So it's a big problem for us operationally, because there's supposed to be a chain of command reporting there to keep an eye on everything that's going on. So, going into the future, as to what we want to do, you see here the warehouse district sector station. This is what we're talking about. Hold on. This is the area what we're talking about. This is the big problem every day. Mines Road and the port. Biggest problem that we have. Why? It's not because there's high crime, but it's the fact that when something happens, even as minor as a death from the 7-Eleven that's there, for us to respond to this area, it takes average 11 minutes. And that for a police department is a big problem. We shouldn't be taking that long. We made some modifications to our patrol personnel. We're now a little bit better, but we're not where we're supposed to be.
What should it be, Chief?
7.5.
And you're at what?
11 minutes. When we look in the other sectors, we're around 7, 8. But this sector right here, we're at 11. And it's a big problem for us. So definitely we need to plug in a sector station to be able to divide whatever is from where the tractor trailers are at. This way, there are always people that are gonna be reporting there and police presence on this side of the road. And over here, we're gonna split up this beat, where the beat 18 is taking care of that area, which is always the easy access to the officer reporting to that beat. Because remember, right now, they're taking care of all this. And it's a problem. So with the 25 that we're getting, we're gonna be splitting up this area and the south, of course. But this is the future of the department. We're doing the north sector, central sector, south sector, and the warehouse district. Everywhere there's growth, we're already planning to split up those beats to make sure that we, for example, our beat 12, which is the area of Cuatro Vientos and Concord Hills and Las Misiones. We have upwards of about 3,000 lots going up there, close to Buena Vista and Cuatro Vientos. Of course, we're gonna split up that district. It's too big for one officer to be reporting and taking care of that area.
Plus, we need more roadways to move your
Absolutely.
officers more effectively.
Absolutely.
And that's something that historically, as a community, we have not done a good job. So that we can change. The people that are here today can change that.
Yeah, and we always take it, and just to piggyback on that, as we're looking at the master plan, as you see here, we're just moving with this. Everything, every roadway, every facility that the city is already planning on doing, every residential area that's growing, we're moving with this map as well. So that's why we're created this map. But again, right now we have one officer reporting to each beat, and we shouldn't have one officer. We should have 2 officers reporting to that beat.
That map shows an outer loop, right?
This one, yes.
Far right.
This one.
Yeah.
So here's De Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
We got the outer loop right here. So, put it next slide.
I'm sorry, can you go back real quick? Is that in the very far south, that connects to the new 4-5 bridge?
This one?
Yep.
South.
That's what they're saying.
Right. Yep.
This is the master plan. This is what they gave us.
So what's the cost for the south sector? Do you have one? Or you don't have anything?
For the south sector, it was 1.8 for the land, and for the building, which is about 12,000 square feet, we're gonna be paying right now $5.8 million.
But you're already gonna do that?
Yes, we have the money for that.
Okay.
We already have.
What did you say for the building, Chief? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. 5.8 million for the
5.8
building?
million right now. Yeah, that's the number that they're giving.
For 10,000 square feet?
For 10,000 square feet.
That's what they're building right now, right?
Yes. We're building right next to the future fire station that's coming there.
How many acres is that you're building on, that you're gonna build on?
We're gonna utilize 3 acres for the facility, and then we're keeping the other 2 acres to add a warehouse to store all our, and we're gonna show you what we're gonna store right now.
Okay.
That's $580 a square foot just for the building cost only.
Just for the building
Mr. Chairman.
cost.
That's all that is, $580 per square foot,
Right.
just the building only, not including the land.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe for fire station, they went up, so already $750. Is that what, Guillermo said?
That's what's going on right now. That's by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I want to touch on this because I think it's very important. The crossings, right, pedestrian crossings. You know, look at the fiscal year crossings for pedestrians coming in to Laredo. You know, they always say, you know, we're about 280,000 population. We don't service 280,000. We service a lot more people than 280,000. So I wanted for everybody to look at this because when we're talking about, you know, the warehouse district, the masses that go work for, I mean, that's our baby, right, the port. So taking care of those warehouses is imperative to our dailies here at the department, right? So when we're talking about heading out there and I keep on putting up the warehouse district, because when you go into those 1 million square feet warehouses, you have a lot of people working there.
Yeah.
A lot of people working there. So we gotta take into consideration to making sure that we provide the services that we need in that area. And I just wanted to show you this because it's a big ticket for us. Okay, we already talked about that. So going to technology. This is the $32.8 million baby right here, our body-worn system. This is a must. We gotta have right now. Right now we have utility. It's called utility. That system itself is becoming obsolete pretty much, and we're still paying about $1.2 million a year to service that system. And that's just to service. It's not new equipment. We're trying to get into a better system, which do we have the video in the comparison? I'll go into that right now. Drones, and then our camera system, LPR system, and shot detector system. We're gonna be launching, and I'm gonna be giving you a little bit preliminary as to what we're going to. So we're meeting with LISD on Friday, and then UISD on Friday. Because with this new system that we have, we're gonna be able to detect gunshots, and we're gonna be putting that gunshot detector in all our high schools here locally. And what that system does, as soon as it hears the first shot, automatically it comes to the RTCC, and it will deploy the officers that are within the area, telling them that there's been a shots fired in that area. So we'll be able to deploy immediately instead of somebody trying to call 911 and saying there's a shots fired. Immediately we know where it's at. It's gonna give us longitude, latitude, más o menos where it's coming from, so the officers can go directly there. So it's a great technology, and I think the districts are gonna be very, very happy with this. We were able to bundle this up with the grant from the state, and we're pushing it out in about, I think, the latter part of November. So we're gonna go start signing some MOUs and things like that, but this is the reason why technology is very important, because we can be everywhere all the time. And with this technology, we'll be able to be more, I guess, more capable in responding, and our response time to be a lot more effective when we know automatically that the shots fired is coming in from where it's coming, and if it's in fact a shots fired, not a firecracker. Our drone operations, we got this through a grant as well, and it's from the state. This itself is gonna serve a lot of our efforts in trying to go on with, because this drone is gonna be able to drop off fentanyl, Narcan, whenever there's a fentanyl overdose. Instead of for that patient that's calling and saying, hey, somebody's overdosing my brother, we'll send the drone to drop off that Narcan, and that way they can do it themselves, versus the officer or EMT guys getting there through traffic. By the time they get there, we can save a life. So it's a $2.2 million purchase that we're getting from the state. Another technology, great technology, but we need to sustain it. What if next year the state tells us you're not gonna get any more funding? How can we continue? And go to the next one. Go to the video. This is our current camera system. This is a camera system that we're attempting to go into. As you can see, the difference is the same. You see how this area is being that it captures this area versus the amount of area it captures with the Axon system. And the reason we're pushing for this is because it makes a difference when you're using force. When you have to use your weapon, the instinct that the officer is getting from any side, any angle, it makes a big difference. So pushing this technology for us is a priority, because at the end of the day, it's for the officer's safety and making sure that when we're saying what we need to say to be transparent in an officer-involved shooting, we're saying the story the way it came in and from the officer's side.
And also, it's a new law, correct?
It is a law.
That's inside the car.
Yes.
That's the body cam.
Body cam.
Yeah. So this new system also, the camera itself, they all
Very
sync
clear.
from different angles, and you'll be able to see what everybody is seeing, all the officers that are there. So whenever there's a shots fired or anything like that, automatically you'll be able to see every angle of every officer that's there. And it paints a really good picture for a jury or a judge to be able to see what the officer saw during the time that they made the approach.
Everybody.
So go to the next one. I'll show you the 911 center. I know this is a picture, but we'll show you that. Our radios, which I spoke to the fire chief, this is important that we upgrade our radios. And then the VTRA simulators. The VTRA simulators is pretty much, it's a simulator that shows you when to use force, when not to use force, and it'll train you in different scenarios virtually. Go back. No, next one. Okay, so when we're talking about headquarters, I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on this. This is inevitable. And if we don't prepare infrastructure for EVs in the future, it's gonna be very hard for us to implement later in the future. We're talking about even the Dodge Charger right now. They eliminated that Dodge Charger from Dodge. They're now called the Charger, and it's gonna be a police vehicle. And now we're talking about the Explorers. They're going straight electric. So then the only ones that we're gonna be left with is the Tahoe. And the Tahoe's already in play to make them electric vehicles. So even though we're not gonna go electric right now, we need to prepare our headquarters for the infrastructure for the future. Whenever this happens, 10 years from now, we have the infrastructure, we're ready to roll. Again, this, going talking to our finance, we're probably gonna take it off. Because we can take the risk that if it doesn't pass, that we cannot purchase any vehicles. Am I correct on that, Troy?
Are you saying you're gonna take that completely off or just reduce it?
We're gonna take it completely off, because if it doesn't pass, we can't buy vehicles right now.
Even with your actual budget that you have for that?
What happens is if the referendum doesn't pass, it penalizes you, and you cannot buy anything that's in that referendum for the next 3 years. So if something that's imperative, we normally buy vehicles every year with our normal CO. So instead of taking the chance,
Right.
I think we'd rather pay that with our normal CO.
Right.
Because those are the things that we always prioritize first, public safety. And then we get whatever other departments need, other normal CO. So that's one of the discussions we've had. Should we leave it in here and run the risk that it doesn't pass, and now I can buy vehicles with bond money?
Great call.
So
Take
what
it
are you,
off.
what are you utilizing right now to purchase, police vehicles? And fire?
COs, contractual, bonds, bond monies.
Just COs?
Mhm.
That's it.
Yes.
You getting away from those, or what?
No.
You're still gonna do it, though?
The problem with that is that it's only 30 million divided amongst all general fund departments. And so ultimately, one of the things I asked the city manager to consider, and I asked both chiefs to consider, is all of their all of their equipment, to roll it all out into this package over a 5-year window.
I know
But
it's
there's
not-
this risk.
It wasn't a very good idea because of the life of the vehicles. Usually try to invest in things that are gonna last more than 5 years. Some of these vehicles last about a year, right?
Yeah. I mean, the goal is 5 years, right? But again, you know, it's for us right now, we're in a bind because we know there's about 68 coming that are gonna be deleted. There's no way that we can continue using them.
And I'm inclined to recommend that we roll the dice and pass this public safety bond so that they can be well equipped for the next, I mean, and Mr. Nab, Jesus got advice from bond counsel, and bond counsel is telling us what Jesus is reporting to us, and that there's a possibility that if you roll the dice and if we fall short, then we won't even be able to use CO money for 3 years. And that's why we're like very cautious. If we're gonna go all in, we're doubling down. If we're gonna add vehicles and fire trucks and ladder trucks and all kinds of stuff but the beauty of it is that if we win, these departments are set. And we can walk away from here saying we left them in a better spot, because 30 million isn't gonna go that far, because they need much more, these two departments, they need all 30 million, but we still have the other departments that need to grab from there for them to operate.
Right.
You know?
So, say this goes through, that'll free up that money for other
the other
departments.
departments. And that was the vision, to let the other departments finally get something, because they have not been able to, because we have taken it from them.
Right.
And so ultimately, I'm inclined, and I'll risk, but my recommendation is we double down and we prove up. If we're gonna prove up some bonds, it's gonna be public safety. The public knows that they wanna be taken care of by their police and their fire department. And I think if there's one leg of this whole big bond package that probably has the best chance of winning,
Exactly.
it's this one right here. Because people can wait for a water park, right? People
Right.
can wait for a rec center. People can wait for a convention center. But people need a fire truck and an ambulance and a police car and all of that. And so
Well, yeah.
we're still gonna continue to explore that possibility that we can add this whole thing in complete, but for 5 years. I know Chief is pushing, he's got a number there for 10 years on the cameras. I'd like to, and I've told both chiefs, let's hover around a 5-year plan. Let's hover around a 5-year plan, just to kind of keep it in check, you know?
So if we were per se to go with your plan of rolling the dice and actually putting in the fleet into the whole public safety bond referendum, what is the plan B for just in case it doesn't pass?
There is
There isn't.
no
There
plan
isn't.
B.
They just stay with the status quo.
And that's where the concern is, because if that doesn't pass, then the only avenue we have is what the monies that we receive in general fund for operations. That's barely keeping up with the operations personnel and that. So if that gets locked down, then something else is gonna have to give.
Something gives?
And the thing is, for example, and you know, we have $250, $300 million worth of public safety needs, and the stations themselves that are gonna be not needing more officers, it's gonna last you 30 years. And it's gonna take the big chunk out of the $250, $300 million. So the vehicle replacement program, and we do have that in the CIP. So when we try to issue those bonds on a year-to-year basis, we'll go and look at our CIP, and of course, public safety is addressed for. Why? Because we're prioritizing public safety, and you're hearing the importance of what that is. So some of the technology that we're talking about, the vehicles, the things that are absolutely needed, I would recommend let's not include them in the referendum, because we don't have an option B. There's not enough money in our general fund to absorb that. So.
Yeah, if I may, I think it's so important on the language that we use, because we're obviously being enlightened here, all of us. We don't know that some of these things are in the condition that they're in. But in my opinion, I first agreed with you. I said I would take it out if it were my own personal business. But this is the language that the people are gonna understand. We need this technology because some of the things that the chief is telling us right now. Absolutely anybody that has a child in school is gonna love the fact that we can hear shots fired from anywhere and send them directly to that unit. So some of the language I think that we can use to get the bond to pass is gonna be based on a lot of these things. I mean, not having technology to get to a location on time, all those things, we can't even promote that or use that anymore if we take some of this technology out, So I think it's almost a double-edged sword, and now that I'm learning about it, I would rather be more enlightened as just a citizen to say, wait, this is why we're gonna pass this bond for these people, because we're in dire straits with technology, and it changes so quickly. And I think that for the most part, younger kids understand how quickly technology changes. But then you've got the middle age with the kids knowing that we wanna hear shots fired at our children's school. Then you've got the elderly that, so I think that if we take that language out, with the needing these vehicles so desperately, I think we might even hurt ourselves that way as well. I think it's a double-edged
sword.
Yeah, it really is. So it's.
Mr. Chair, just to educate me, is it possible to, bid or to vote on this item as like an alternate bid? How we do city work. Is that an option, or?
You know what, I love that thought, right? That you could, because we're gonna go cafeteria plan regardless, right? Because we're gonna have, this is your public safety. Our recommendation is that's why we have these committees, right? So when you have public safety, maybe we can get bond counsel to draft the language in the way to say, for the headquarters, for patrol cars, for this, for that. And if you guys recommend that as a committee, and the council grabs it and takes it, more than likely, some of these higher priority things get done,
But yes, they can draft it like that, because that's the way the ISDs draft them.
Do you do it as alternates also?
Yeah, I
And you
mean,
could
they're
add
like,
on,
per
you could
se,
add
it's
on.
19.4 million for
a training
X
center.
facility. This is for,
No, but I mean,
for.
do you actually vote on that separately than on the main one?
Yeah, you can write it the
Vote
way you
separately?
write
You
it.
can write it
Because
the way,
that would be the
yeah.
plan B right there.
Yeah.
That's plan B.
That is Plan B, because that gives you more options to say yes, no, no, yes, no. You know what I mean? Almost, like that too is a little bit difficult, because we want the entire, we've got to fight for that.
And that's the balance that they have as the chiefs, right? Because they have their vision that could be partially obtained because we cafeteria'd out their vision.
Yeah, but you
So
can
just
just
to
put
use the
building
vehicles only.
facilities, so-and-so million for fire, for PD and fire, and you can put, I mean, technology in communications and so on, so much millions, and then you go up in there, but.
Because as a
just gonna
voters
have to-
voting, they say, oh, well, we already gave
Line
you
it out.
33 million for
Yeah.
this, forget everything else, or something like that. So you risk that also, I think, by cutting them up, instead of saying we're getting all this for a big number.
Yeah.
Because if I were an uneducated voter, which I'm not, but if I were, you would kind of say, okay, that's a big number, no to this, but yes to a lot of the other things. If we could keep everything else together and maybe separate
The cars?
the cars.
And just have two?
Yeah, so that way-
So that they could still vote,
Yeah,
but
and-
then if they don't vote for the
Well, you know
cars-
what? No, but then you.
But either way, if they vote no for both, you're screwed out of that money.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And it
not
can
only.
very possibly happen.
It could. And I think that if they see the cars and all that at a separate thing, I mean, people are gonna know the desperate need. And we also say, our other fleet is going out, so we need this. This is where we have to just stress that a little bit more if we separate it, how important the separate one is, because the vehicles are not gonna be any good in 5 years. I mean, we're in this problem, right?
And there is a lot of voter apathy, Mr. Chairman, that the people with the most interest in this will be the ones that will go out and vote for it. And generally, there's a history in our community that not enough people go out, but the ones that we educate will go out because we're educating them and we're drawing them in.
And the important thing is to know what you're going in before you go in and see all of these, different things. We have to educate them to vote yes, and these are the reasons why before you even go into that room.
But
because
even
a lot
at
of
that,
people
the
don't.
voter turnout is gonna be very, very different to your regular turnout when you have, you know, your regular politician elections. I mean, this is a referendum on its own, and you have to go back and look at the history as far as how people are voting whenever a referendum is out there for bonding purposes, because it's probably 1/3 of the people that go out and actually vote versus to the entirety of the November election or the March election per se.
Well, and again, the risk is still there, whether you cafeteria it or you lump it, the risk is still there.
It is.
If you list it as individual, if it doesn't pass,
But it's because sometimes we also have to understand if we're willing to take the risk or not, because the city, I mean, is in dire need of this referendum in order for us to be able to sustain both public safety entities to make sure that they get what they need.
But the problem is that you can end up worse.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
3
and I
years.
think
For
that-
three-
that's
for
why-
And there's no way to
Nine.
change that language?
no, that's
None.
not, that's,
No,
It's
that's
just
state
set.
law.
that's state law.
That's state law
State.
referendum.
That's where I was going, that
I
might end up.
think all of us in this community feel that the fire and police are priority.
Yes, period. I
So
think
we
that's,
know that, so it's gonna be critical as to the way y'all get together with legal as to how you can structure this, so that you can get the biggest bang for your buck here. And I think they brought up some good points here. And I think we're all trying to figure out a way how to get this done. That's the key. And, you know, we knew back then that COs were not the best route to go, but it was the only route we had. That's how we bought fire engines and everything for fire and police. You got cars that are not even in your inventory anymore, and we're still paying for them.
well, see,
That's what COs do.
if I may, this can be accomplished if you free up some of that, the CO money, if the other departments get their funding. So,
right.
And that's kind of what I told the city manager when he came on board. Let's roll this out. Let's try to do this big bond. And I've been talking to the chiefs for a while over this. And basically, it was so that we can let the other departments finally get something. If we can carve away and hit a home run, then all the rest of the departments will finally get what they need, and it improves the customer service eventually. So, and I'm not the only one that's been talking to them. The chiefs directly been talking to the city manager, to the council, and so many other people have talked about this. But on our side, we're looking at how it frees it up for the other departments.
Sure, if I may add something. The only issue on the other side of the coin here is when we buy 100 vehicles, is those 100 vehicles are gonna have to be replaced also within the next 5 years. So sometimes it's always easier to have that vehicle replacement program where we're replacing 30 or 40 every year. Because now we have a big hit of 100 vehicles, and then after that 5 years, we're gonna have another big
Yeah,
hit.
exactly.
And that's why we have a vehicle replacement program, and like Mr. Mata mentions, what the referendum's gonna do is gonna take a lot of the pressure off the normal bond that we issue. So we're still gonna continue doing that for certain things that are not gonna be in those referendums. But the referendums, in my view, is for those big ticket items that big main police station that he needs, because that's gonna be lasting 20, 30 years, and we won't be able to do it with a normal CO issue. And just to add a little bit, when they structure the bond issuance, our financial advisor gets all the items that we're buying. So they kind of front end, if you have vehicles, those are gonna be paid up first. So we're not paying for vehicles for the 20 years, so those are paid within the 5 years as they structure the payments for those issues. And then you have payments for the bigger ticket items in that plan of finance that they structure with the different items that they're buying 5, 10, 15, 20 years in. So we don't pay for those cars for the 20 years, so it's within that structure. But yeah, we'll have those big payments if we don't keep those cars replacing at a more,
But couldn't you order 100 cars in the art of negotiation? You tell somebody, I want to buy 100 cars from you, but I want delivery next year, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. Stagger it out.
Well, we would have to ask council.
one of the
that
constraints that
but
we have
that's-
with now with the bond issuance is that you have to spend the money within 3 years. So you could probably structure within 3 years.
Well, I mean, you could pay them up front. What private entity wouldn't want an influx of all this money where I can reinvest and already have committed sales for the future, the 30-year?
And again, you know, the whole issue here is when we're talking about this amount of money, we're talking about 75 vehicles to 100 vehicles, right, for next year. So next year, we have to buy 75 vehicles. If not, it's gonna hinder our operations. It's gonna go really bad on us if we don't buy those 75 vehicles. The following year, we have another 75 coming. So this is just about the spreadsheet that we have, that we're just going down the road and we're saying, we need 75 for 2025, we need 75 2026, and then we're gonna go down to 40 in 2027. And then we go back, right,
Yeah.
because they're expiring,
Keep
so
repeating
it's
it,
just
yeah.
it's a revolving door with units. And it's not only in Laredo, every single city department is the same. They have to be buying, I mean, DPS buys hundreds of vehicles, San Antonio PD, hundreds of vehicles a year that they buy to continue their operations. And we're not talking about like the replacement for motorcycles. You know, people are asking for more cops in the loop. They're asking for more cops on Del Mar. They're asking for more cops on Cuatro Vientos. We do not have enough cops. And when we're talking about traffic officers, to train them, to give them equipment, it's very costly. It's very costly. So we're putting it here so they know where we're going with. Yes, we're gonna add more personnel, now that we're gonna have more, but at the end of the day, it costs money. We're gonna show you our incident command right now. It's a hand-me-down from the fire department. It's an ambulance that they were deleting, and we got it and we made it our negotiator van. We'll show it to you right now. But this is the stuff that we're dealing with at PD. I mean, and what are the other ones? The SWAT, yeah. The SWAT. Again, the specialized equipment that we're talking about, just to give you some visibility, this is what we're talking about. We ended up buying a Bearcat this year, approved from the council. We bought it with asset forfeiture funds. We didn't buy it from general fund or from the city. This is a ROOC. This is a much needed equipment. Look at the cost for that equipment. This is for our SWAT personnel to be able to engage people in certain areas of a house or a commercial building, much needed. And then right now, we are doing a lot better. Now we have several teams throughout the platoons, and we're just gonna grow that unit because there's a need for a tactical command to grow. So this is why we're asking for this, because this is what protects our officers when we're engaging somebody that's doing shots fired. Go to the next slide. So I know that you guys are probably hungry. We have food already. I don't know, if, Mr. Chairman, if you wanna, I'll close with this. The headquarters, it's a much needed item. Why? Because if you look at this headquarters, once we tour it, it's not victim centered. It's not approachable. It's very institutional. Right now, when we have a victim that is either a domestic violence victim or a sexual assault victim, they go to the hospital, they go get their SANE kit. The following day or the same day when they come in over here, when they come in and they try to get the information that they need, we have no room for them. We have to either get them into a detective's office or one of our interrogation rooms. We're barely making a small room to make it for our victims because we don't have one. You know, the other thing is also, anytime that we have a traumatic event for a family, and I'll just give you the family that, you know, that lost their kids in Cuatro Vientos, the whole family came over to PD. We have no room to settle them and give them, you know, the compassion that they need for the traumatic event that they're going through. There's no room. We're gonna show you around where we're sitting them. Police headquarters has to be victim-centered. Nowadays, there's no room for us to have this type of setting because that's not what we do. The next thing is the officer wellness part. Our officers need to be taken care of. We have a lot of officers right now that I can tell you that are seeing seeking help now. It's a new generation. Now they come and tell you, I need to see a doctor. And those things we need to continue giving to them because they need it, right? Day in and day out, they see traumatic events. I've been in those situations when you get to a crash scene and you see children dead. It's very traumatic. And so when we don't take care of our officers cannot take care of the public. So it's a cycle, right? So we need to make sure that we continue pushing the note that we have to also do our headquarters with that in mind, that they have that access to for a psychologist to come and see after a post-traumatic event, and then also the wellness part, making sure that they're fit, making sure that they have a gym to work out, making sure that I have access to all that. And I know sometimes they say, gee, well, they can go join a gym. It is not the same when you come here and you're telling them, go decompress, go work out, and then go home. Because believe me, we have situations where they come in, they're frustrated, they go home, and what they get to the wife, and the wife gets upset because they don't want to talk. And it's very, very frustrating for us that we cannot give that help. So we want to make sure that when they get here, they decompress, and then we send them home to their families. We have to take care of the officers. So on in with that. Do you want to eat, Chairman, or do you want me to keep on going? Want to do a tour? Leave it up to you.
Any questions?
We'll do the executive session right after, and then if you want to do.
Or while we're eating, no?
You wanna get something to eat?
That's here.
You want
That's here.
to?
We brought
Executive
food.
session?
We brought
We'll
food.
eat then.
We can eat in executive session.
I think so, he's gonna, an executive
We
session.
brought food already, Mr. Chairman, and then.
We don't need to.
Yeah.
Do we need to?
A motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Got a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let me just read the portion. Subcommittee reserves the right to adjourn to executive session at any time during the course of this meeting to discuss any proposed agenda item which authorized by Texas Government Code Section 55.1.071, consultation with attorney. You're the attorney. Deliberation about gifts, donations, 55.1.074 personnel matters, 55.1.076 deliberation about security devices, and/or 55.1.087 economic development. Following closed session, the open meeting will reconvene, at which time, if any, may be taken, if any action.
6:51.
Where do we go or what?
He's staying.
We're gonna stay here.
We're gonna stay.
Okay.
We just got everybody out then.
Did you take your vote?
Hmm?
The vote passed already, right?
It did.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You still? Okay, we'll return back from executive session. No action taken. Okay. Next item for discussion is the possible selection of a location, date, time for next bond referendum committee for the Public Safety Committee. I know we have fire next week, or?
Yes, and I have your agendas here.
Yes, sir.
So you are set for next Tuesday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. to meet at the Fire Administration Building, second floor conference command room to go over the fire presentation. So any other week after that to reconvene if you all wish.
Okay.
With PD, and you can go back and forth week after week, or you can bring them combined.
We can bring them both together, right?
Your call.
Is that? Any input from the committee as to where we would like
I
to
would
go?
say the McKendrick Library in South Laredo, and just push ourselves over, going forward.
There's a suggestion that we go to the public branch in South Laredo at the McKendrick Library. Is everybody okay with that?
Is that for next week or for?
Oh,
The
no,
week after.
next week we have
Not
fire.
next week.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
And we'll take both fire and police.
Mr. Chairman, is there any way that we can put a date to give you a tour of our facilities and giving you?
We can set that.
We can set that as
That
well.
would be good.
You wanna set that after we meet? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the date that you want for, and this is gonna be McHenry, correct? Correct?
After we do both presentations for fire and
After we do,
after fire?
Fire.
What are we looking at as far as meeting times?
the following week, you know?
The 29th, and we keep it on Tuesdays?
We can't, because I think they had said something about,
That's a big meeting, no?
That's,
the big meetings.
So we have to, when is a big meeting?
Have to
Tomorrow we
switch it
have
over to
our
Wednesdays.
last subgroup meeting together, health. And then after that, it's, I'm hoping in November timeframe, for the
Okay,
first,
so we're looking at the
the
20th.
first Tuesday of November.
The
So we
5th
could
of
still
November?
use October
No, the
29th.
5th of
Is this
November is
library?
election
No,
day,
we could
so.
still use
yeah.
October
So,
29th.
why are we meeting on?
So that's
Is
correct.
that gonna
You
help?
could still use October 29th.
Can be-
A Tuesday.
Yeah.
A Tuesday.
Oh, okay, then we can do October 29th.
And that's,
Yeah, and that would be a tentative date for meeting with fire and PD, or if we're gonna do
over there
the
in
tour.
McKendree.
Yeah, or you could do the tour that day.
Yeah.
I think we should do the
We
tour
do first
because,
McKendree and then we tour.
Okay,
Oh, as part of the same day?
wait,
No.
In other words, you open there, you go to the
No, no.
tour, and then you come back?
We do the meeting with both fire and police.
oh, I
Okay,
see.
okay.
And then
29th.
after, we'll schedule a tour with the chief here
Okay,
at
I
the.
see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll schedule that tour after,
Yeah.
at that meeting.
At
yeah,
that
yeah,
meeting.
and then that meeting, I guess we can discuss what is the available date for everyone.
Yeah.
For the
So we
tour.
can, for the
Chief,
tour.
when you say a tour, are we talking about just the buildings in the block to
In the-
block radius, or are we talking about across the city?
Yeah, so I
Whatever
want
you
to
wanna
take
show
you,
us.
drive you to where we're currently at, like for example, some of where we're operating.
Yeah,
I want to drive you to the tax center so you can see our operations, because they're going to ask you. And I want you to grasp exactly what we do day in and day out. Also show you the Sanchez building, show you the annex where we moved from, and then show you the current equipment that we have. So
Right.
so
you
in
can-
other words, no heels, chief. No, I'm just kidding.
No heels, money.
I thought the
Really?
chief was wearing heels.
About a 3 to 4 hour tour.
I think well, depends on how the fire does at McKendree, right? They're gonna
No,
present.
Oh, the fire?
No, I'm sorry, next week.
Next week.
Fires next week by themselves.
They're okay? Okay, and then we go to McKendree with both of them,
So it's a week after.
and then,
And then we set the
and then
date
we
back.
tour.
Okay.
And then we set the date for the tour.
We'll take a date at that meeting to come and visit you over here.
And that will be in November.
And we'll post the meeting also.
Yeah, but for the sake of me posting the 29th, it'll be police and fire. I'll get with you with the agenda.
Yes.
And we're looking at again 5 PM?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I guess just for purposes of the agenda, we can just keep it standardized as far as, all the sections within, and I guess just,
Just keep it the same.
yeah.
In case we need to go
In
and do
case we
that.
need to go into executive session or
So
whatever.
keep an executive on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just in case, and we'll
Chief.
just keep it in.
I also wanted to take you to the firing range. I want you to go see, and then I'm gonna give you I'm gonna let training
Okay.
give you a little tour as to what we do to prepare for firearms, so you can also see the way we're doing it now.
Sometimes,
Why
I
we-
guess,
why
I
we
guess
ask.
that tour is probably gonna have to be, what, a noon type of deal?
It's an all,
It's an
several
all-
hours.
I mean, I think at 5, if we go 5 early, we go over there and then come here real quick.
Okay,
It won't take that long.
okay.
Okay.
That'll be the first week of November, right, when we do
Yeah,
that?
it'll be the first week of November.
Mr. Chairman,
And it won't be on a
29th.
Tuesday.
I'm the chairman, I won't be here on the 29th.
Okay.
The 29th is actually my
You'll be
baby's
here?
birthday. I won't.
But we still have a quorum?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
We'll make sure we get their information to this.
I'll be missing next week, I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town on the 20.
But you'll be here next week?
Yes.
Okay, next week is
Does
important.
October 30th work for?
Next week is the fire department.
Better for me.
Does October 30th work
That's my
instead of the
birthday.
28th?
That's
I
my
can do the-
birthday.
Is it really? Okay, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not- I'm not-
And
Yeah,
it's-
I won't be here on the 29th, Mr. Chairman.
Especially that date, that night
is.
Oh,
it's both fire and.
Maybe we move it to the
The fourth?
Thursday?
Yeah, maybe the 31st.
The 31st
The
is
31st is Halloween.
That's Halloween.
you
Not
wanna
like
do
we care.
Halloween.
Well, what
But
do we
you might be
skip-
busy.
What do we
Chief.
skip to the next,
Yeah.
the first Tuesday of November, the 4th?
The first
Election
Tuesday
day.
of November is election day.
Then we go to the Wednesday.
Go to the Wednesday,
Let's go to
November
the
the 6th.
6th or 2nd?
November the 6th.
6.
Yeah.
Instead, so
November
we'll-
2nd is the
The
Saturday.
29th, we'll move,
It's
remove
out.
29th, it's out, then we'll keep the November
We're
the
on the
6th,
McKendree,
right after
6th,
election, on the 6th.
6th, 5th, whatever.
No, on the 6th, because 5th is election day.
Will some
So it's a
six,
Wednesday.
still be?
It's a
Yes,
Wednesday.
Wednesday the
The
6th.
Do we get like a text or anything? Like today, I didn't know that it changed until they called me about the sandwich.
You know that,
Yeah, you didn't get it.
Well-
I don't want one. So,
you all should have gotten 2 PowerPoints.
No,
I didn't follow up with the chiefs, so I'm asking, Chief, could you send them your PowerPoint after, maybe tomorrow morning, the whole group?
Are we all on an email or something? 'Cause I
We're
haven't
gonna
got-
create that,
Oh,
we're gonna
okay.
create that.
Okay, you'll-
And then I'll ask the fire chief to do the same. And I'm gonna try to set up, or I'm gonna have one of the chiefs set up maybe a WhatsApp
yes.
for you guys.
That would be
So
great.
that we're all together, so we
Yes.
can talk.
That is-
I got consumed
I know.
starting
It's
Thursday
okay.
with this water boil, and I
Oh,
didn't
yes.
even bother, except for trying to switch chiefs, because Chief Hurt's dad died also.
Yes.
so.
Right.
And you'll check on the availability of that facility and.
Yeah, the
and,
library.
The conference room that they have up there.
This is the book we're gonna get we don't get one of these every meeting,
No,
right?
that's yours.
So in case you
Yeah,
guys,
that's yours.
in case you guys wanna write down my information, since I came in late and I'm not on there. Rick Laurel, it's 956-615-2888. And it's ricklaurel@yahoo.com.
Remember, just bear in mind on that WhatsApp.
The Open
email-
Meetings Act?
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot
Yeah,
be discussing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good
Particulars.
idea.
I don't think it, yeah.
You-
I'll just send you all an
You can
email.
Let's just
discuss
send us an
times and
email.
stuff
Right.
like that, but don't engage in dialogue as far as.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's your.
I guess just send an email and then somebody set up a calendar invite, and then we can just go
We'll keep
from
it-
there.
Keep it
With
basic.
addresses and
Yeah.
stuff, I don't even know.
Again, nothing keeps you from communicating.
before we
on time like
adjourn,
that,
Right.
Just not have
Thank
dialogue.
you,
on-
Chief, your
Yeah.
staff. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
And Chief, thank you very much for
Yeah,
your
great.
information. It was very informative. And thank all the committee members for being here. I think we have a very, very important job ahead of us. And as you can see, it's already starting to develop as the information comes out. We're gonna probably see the same thing with the fire department, so looking forward to that. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.